On one side, we are aiming for Viksit Bharat and bullet trains, whereas on the other side, 800 million Indians are still surviving on subsidized food. So then, if we have to lift 800 million people out of poverty and give them a healthy life,
Correct.
what is the solution to that? How do we do that?
So the largest number of these are in agriculture. Their incomes has to go up. For that, they have to get a remunerative price, and that will come if the minimum support price is assured. And minimum support price is based on their true cost. At the moment, we don't take the full cost. Like for a business, we'll take whatever the investment by the businessmen, the shareholders, their equipment, their property, everything is taken into account. But in the case of agriculturists, we don't do that. So as they say, full cost pricing should be done. Not that if you're giving your own managerial skill, that's not counted. If you're giving your own implements, that's not counted. These kind of things. So it should be on the full thing, just like for a business.
So there's one problem that I see with the assurance of MSP. If the government assures MSP, then no matter what the demand is in the market, the farmers will optimize for supply. So if a farmer can produce 1 ton of rice, he will produce 1.5 tons of rice. And now that the government has said that we are guaranteeing MSP, they can't go back on their words. So the government will have to keep on buying, no matter how much supply comes to them. And the government currently does not have enough storage capacity to store these grains, because of which we keep hearing headlines where thousands of tons of grains are wasted because of lack of storage. So isn't the government putting itself in a precarious situation by assuring MSP, because it actually messes up the equation of demand and supply, isn't it?
No, that's not the reality. You see, why are we producing more of wheat and paddy or more of sugar? It is because only 23 crops out of maybe 200 crops, the minimum support price is announced. And that's also not on full cost. And we are able to implement it only on 3 crops: paddy, wheat, and for sugarcane, there is a price that is fixed by the government, which is given. So therefore, these 3 have become profitable compared to other crops. So more of this is being produced than of other crops. And these other crops, therefore, we have to import, like dals, like oil seeds, because we are not producing adequate amount. So where production of dal and oil seed would have been better, we are producing sugarcane, we are producing paddy, etc. So like in Punjab, we should not be producing paddy. In Maharashtra, in the arid areas, semi-arid areas, we should not be producing sugarcane. We should be producing coarse grains. We should be producing other such things. So the excess is because of this 3 crops getting the minimum support price. And here also it is said that only 6% of the farmers are getting the minimum support price. 94% don't get it.
Correct.
The traders get the benefit of it, right? So what we need to do is we need to equalize the profitability of all crops. Then people will plant those crops which are suitable to that local environment. So instead of doing paddy in Punjab, they'll do other crops, for which we are today importing and spending our foreign exchange. So if we equalize the profit by giving minimum support price to all crops, and so the profitability is all equated, then what will happen is that the cropping pattern will change. And when the cropping pattern change, you will not have excess of wheat and paddy. And the import that you are having of dal and of oil seeds, that will go down. And environment will be benefited. Because today the environment is being destroyed because you're pumping out a lot of water in Punjab, so the water table is going down and the chemicals are going into the water table, and therefore cancer is increasing, other diseases are increasing everywhere. So this minimum support price for all crops will mean that there'll be a balance between the crops. It's not that you'll only produce more and more of paddy and more of wheat, which, as you rightly said, then there's a stockholding problem. So now what will happen is that you'll procure only when the price goes below the minimum support price. So you don't have to procure the entire crop, because if you procure the entire crop and held it, the whole population will starve to death. So even now, procurement and holding of stock is at the margin. Then also it will be at the margin only. So if the price drops, then you will procure. If the price doesn't drop, you will not procure. You'll procure for the lean season, for the the drought year. Okay, you'll only hold that much stock. So 25 million tons of stock is needed for that. So instead of having 70, 80 million tons, you'll only have 25 million. But you may hold stock of, say, 30, 40 different things. But the storage is already created for holding 70, 80 million tons of paddy and wheat, etc. So therefore, there'll be no problem.
Okay.
And the subsidy that is being given on that food stocks, that will go down. So instead of the 2-3 lakh crores that you are giving as subsidy to Food Corporation of India and for stock holding, that will disappear. Because the production of the excess production of these crops will go down. So instead of the thing going up, actually the excess production will go down. At the moment, excess production is in paddy and in wheat. But if other crops become equally profitable, then production will be as per the climatic zone, because that will be less capital intensive if you do it as per the climatic zone.
Got it.
So therefore, it's a more rational system to have MSP for all crops and implement it. Today, we are not able to implement it on 23 crops. We are only able to implement it on 3, and only 6% farmers are able to get it. The others are not able to get it. So you have to implement it. So it's a question of a political will. If we have the political will, then we can do it. If we don't have the political will, we'll keep making excuses, saying this problem will be there, that problem will be there, etc. So we have to implement this. Second point is that if all workers get a living wage, then demand for food will go up. And when the demand for food will go up, price will automatically go above the MSP. Then government will only intervene at the margin when the price drops below the MSP. But price will not drop below the MSP. What will definitely happen is inflation. That's what actually the government and the industry is worried about. Because they want to keep agriculture prices down so that the upper middle class and the middle class can have their servants. Okay. I mean, think about it. In the US, even if you are 30 times earning more than me, you can't afford a full-time servant. We in the upper middle class, we'll have maids and servants and drivers, and malis, because we pay them very little compared to our income. In the US, even somebody 30 times earning more than me will have only a part-time help. So business wants cheap labor. Middle class and upper middle class want cheap labor. That's why we are keeping their wages down. So for the prosperity or the ease of life of, say, 3-4% of Indians, we are keeping 50% people down in farming. And we are keeping the workers down in the unorganized sector, right? So it is a vested interest. And the government is sensitive to this vested interest because the government is in the control of this elite class.
Sir, I have a slight disagreement when you said that the government can actually regulate the MSP assurance in such a way that they can regulate supply and demand.
No, not supply and demand. They will assure a minimum support price by intervening in the market when the price drops below the minimum support price.
But so this intervention, if you look at the scale of this intervention, this has to be done all across the country.
Yes.
Now we are looking at a government, and government companies in general have a reputation to not function properly at all. And if I look at this procedure of understanding demand, understanding supply, figuring out the right MSP, making sure that the MSP is given to the farmers, making sure that the entire ecosystem is sustainable, all of this requires cutting edge data analytics, forecasting, and several other things.
That's not true. See, we have agriculture universities all over the country. They will say what the price of cultivation of something in that area is.
Okay.
And you'll fix the MSP according. That's how it is done. These data is collected from the agriculture universities and so on. And you do that. So that will continue to be done. So therefore, the MSP would differ from state to state and so on, depending on the cost of cultivation in that area, right? So that can be managed. Now the thing is that how will you procure the thing in the mandi? But the procurement in the mandi will be much less if you are assuring a proper income to the workers, because the price will automatically go above the MSP. Then the amount of procurement will be very little. You see, the procurement will be only at the margin when the price drops. But because the demand has increased, the workers are able to buy more dals and more oils because their income is higher, right? So you won't have to procure so much.
Sir, how do we increase worker wages then? Because we're talking about 800 million people.
No. So the point is that workers' wages will go up provided you give them work. If the work is there, then the wages will go up.
And
Okay.
how do we give them work? Is the answer FDI?
No, FDI is not the solution. FDI will come only in the organized sector, and there no jobs will be created. So how do you generate work? You have to look at where your employment today is and where it can grow. So it is in the micro sector. Micro sector, as I said, is 70 million units, employing about 11.5 crores people, an average of 1.7 persons per micro unit. Now, if that can be raised to 3.4, you'll have 11.5 crores more workers. Okay. And therefore, people from agriculture will be able to come out. So agriculture will have fewer people dependent on this thing. So you have to boost the micro sector and the unorganized sector. Today, the government is actually killing the micro sector and the unorganized sector. It's doing the opposite of what it needs to do. It says we'll organize the unorganized sector. Now, how can you make a unit where there's 1.7 people working? How can you make it organized? Where does that fellow have the time to do marketing and finance and technology development? It has no chance. So you can kill the unorganized sector, but you cannot make it organized. The agriculture sector, where 85% farmers are below 5 acre, and large number of them are 1 acre, 2 acre, half acre, they cannot become organized. They have an income of 50,000, 70,000, 1 lakh rupee. It doesn't even come in the taxable bracket. They can't become organized. You can only kill them. You can convert them into workers. Okay. So my argument is that if the price is above the MSP, then the farmers' incomes will go up. Their demand for micro sector will go up. When the demand for micro sector from them goes up, the micro sector will get a boost. And how do you boost the micro sector with government support? You have to create cooperatives. So this is the solution that we have worked out. That say in Bhadoi you have carpets, in say Tirupur you have textiles, in Aligarh you have say brass, in Khurja you have pottery, in say Ludhiana you have hosiery. You create cooperatives of these people. Then as a cooperative, they'll be able to get credit, they'll be able to do marketing. Okay.
Just like Amul.
Just like Amul. And then technology support will have to be given by the government. That's how the Chinese economy became industrialized. Their village industry was boosted 25-30% growth every year.
How did the Chinese do it, sir? Can you explain this using a story?
No, so the Chinese, they boosted their village industry by the kind of thing that I'm telling you. Okay, so you have to create these synergy, like as you rightly said, Amul did, right? So similarly, if you create this synergy by creating cooperatives. Now, cooperatives have their own problem. I'm not saying there's no problem with cooperatives. Yeah. Okay, there are problems like sugar cooperatives in Maharashtra are controlled by politicians and things like that, that kind of thing. But if you as a country have the political will, you can tackle these problems. If as a country we don't have the political will, we make 100 excuses. This can't be done, that can't be done, and so on and so forth. But look at what are we doing today? We are killing the unorganized sector, whereas we should be raising it. Look at the budget. The budget is giving 11.3 crores, 3 lakh crores to capital this thing, formation, right? And therefore it's cutting back on what? Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, which is the big employer. On education, in real terms, you've cut it. That's a big employer. Health, you've cut it in real terms. That's the big employer. Rural development, you're reducing it. Agriculture development, you're reducing it. Okay. So wherever employment can be generated, you're cutting down. And where employment is not going to be generated, you're raising it. So for instance, they're spending more on freight corridor and big highways. Now, a freight corridor, a big highways, earlier would see hundreds of people working. Now with big bulldozers, big cranes and big JCBs, etc., there are only 10 people working. So it's not even labor intensive, this construction sector. But we are boosting it. We are boosting the IT sector. We are boosting the power sector. Okay. But they will not generate employment. It is in the Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, education, health, these kind of areas. So our government's policies are also pro-organized sector. It's benefiting because once you have big highways and big railway freight corridors, then the product of the organized sector can go up to the village easily.
Yeah.
So therefore, the unorganized sector in the village will get killed. Okay. So the whole move in the country is in the wrong direction. We have to follow what Gandhi said, bottom-up development. We are going in for top-down. And we know for the last 80 years, the top-down has not managed to go down, to the poor people. So we have to change strategy. See, the organized sector already has very good balance sheet. It needs demand. The moment we boost the unorganized sector, demand will be boosted, the organized sector will benefit. So it's not a zero-sum game. It's a positive sum game. If you begin to generate demand at the lower level, then MSP will be not a problem. Your employment generation will not be a problem. Your organized sector will not have a problem. Okay? But we have to have the political will. You only see, okay, today what do I need? I need this, then I'll be well off. So our organized sector generates a lot of black incomes. Now, the moment you generate black incomes, it reduces the potential of the economy for development. Because I characterize the black economy as digging holes and filling holes. So you set one person to dig hole during the day, and at night you set another person to fill the hole. So there is zero output next day, but two incomes are earned. So I call it activity without productivity. So to give an example, which I often quote, you make a road, you don't put enough tar and aggregate, you siphon out the money, the rains come, it gets washed away. So you're repairing the same pothole road every year rather than having good roads.
And GDP is spiking.
And GDP goes up. So your axle of the cars break down, accidents take place, people die. So therefore, you're not getting the productivity from the investment that you should get.
Yeah.
So black economy reduces the investment productivity. It reduces the growth rate. So I've shown that, Indian economy's growth rate could be 5% higher between mid-70s and now if the black economy had not been there. So instead of growing at an average in the 1970s and 80s at 3.5%, we could have grown at 8.5%. And now instead of growing at the official rate of growth of 6.5%, we could have grown at 11.5%. So Indian economy would be then 8 times larger.
8 times larger?
Yeah. If you add 5% from the 1970s onward, it's a compound rate of growth. Okay. So today we would be close to the American economy size of $26 trillion.
Wow.
Okay. Instead of being the 3.8 trillion official.
Hi guys, if you loved watching this clip and if you want to do a deep dive into the podcast, we've mentioned the link in the description. So click that link, watch that podcast and take notes. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more clips.